All right, kind of new setup. Let's see how this works. Live, live, live. Let's see, let's add Tanya. Share it with. Hello, I'm trying to add Tanya so we can get this party started. Hi, Play Tank Paint. I don't know if I know you, but hi. Gonna get to know you. Mim and Eileen. Hi, guys. I'm gonna see if, there's Tanya. All right, let's see if I can add Tanya. My special guest. She's really fun and really interesting. Talking it up. Hey.
Oh, hello.
Oh, look at you. You ready to work out?
I'm ready for my sprint.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Let's see. Can I get my phone in this little device that I've sort of arranged? No, probably not.
Hey, Mica.
Technology. Good time. Hey, it is so nice to see you. I'm really, really glad it worked out that you could join me today for this adventure.
I'm, as you know, I have all my sweatbands on, so I'm willing and able to sweat it out for creativity. I think.
Yes, I love it. Sweat it out for creativity.
Nice to see you, even though it's not IRL, as the kids say. At least we've met IRL, so that makes me feel.
We have met IRL. I don't even know how we met, but it was a beautiful serendipity, whatever it was.
Totally. Yep.
And I wasn't lying when I said that, like, I haven't written a book because you basically wrote everything that was in my brain. I was like, all right, well, now I don't have to do that. So I'll just like.
You're welcome. No.
No, really, very truly, it's such a, so welcome. It's a fantastic book. We'll talk a little more about it.
Okay.
But people are joining, which is fun. People from our various networks and feeds. So we say hi to them. Hi, Jazz Goddess. Eileen is my auntie. Yeah, Eileen is my auntie in California. I hope you're ready to work out too. Get ready to jazzercise.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how we do it. There we go. Let me put this here. All right, cool. So the way this works is that we'll catch up a little more, but what we do is we just have a little open studio session where you and I will do the prompt that is this week's Creative Sprint prompt. And my awesome social media manager, Tharea, I charged her with selecting a different prompt every week and like finding a way to make it something that focused on creative connecting. There's something that was a little bit either collaborative or connective in some way. And so that they would be a surprise to me each week when she posts them.
That's great.
So she put it up on Wednesday, and the prompt for this week is to draw a portrait of somebody that you haven't seen in a while. And this instructions is to do like a blind, I guess not blind contour, but like a continuous contour where you don't pick up the pen, you just keep drawing. So I thought that was a super perfect one for us.
It's so great, Mica, because you know that I'm totally facile with language in the written form and then public speaking and all of that stuff. So this creative sprint allows me to do what I preach, which is to disrupt the patterns and habits that we're used to in order to access imagination. So, and I married an artist, and I'm the worst drawer ever. This is fantastic. I love it.
Yay, good. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I have to say, like, I saw that when I was like, oh, this couldn't have been better for me and Tanya. So yeah, so basically we just, we can share a little bit about where we're working from, our little workspaces, the materials we have available to us to do this. And then we'll just start drawing, and then we'll keep talking. I'd like to talk a little bit about how we met, the kind of work you do,
Okay.
a little bit of background, all the fun stuff, and we can kind of get into how we work. And then we share the finished product, and that's really it. And if anybody who's watching wants to share what they make with us, they can tag us, and we'll share it out, and that's really it.
That's awesome. I love this. This is so great. Well, I just want, I'll just set up a teeny bit of my space, which I inadvertently picked the right books to put my little tripod on. So I'm going to show you what those books are before we get started. Tell me if you can see them.
Roni Horn, super cool. Ava Hess.
Yes.
Right.
And we've got another. So basically I picked visual artists inadvertently. Thank you.
Very cool. So you have a lot of art in your life. I love it. A lot of inspiration around you.
Yeah.
You're not a visual artist. You have a lot of influence of visual arts in your life.
Yeah. And what about you? What space are you in?
This is just my little corner office, if you will. It's just I never got that window office, but I can make one for myself. So I made my little art desk is actually, I've been using this little art table. It's actually a old typing table that I got for free from my art school back in the day. And I've been toting around from apartment to apartment. I always thought that one day I would have an art studio, but living in New York, just having a second rent basically was never possible, because if you could afford the second rent, then if you were working enough to afford the second rent, then you had no time to use, a second studio space. That's what I learned, was the New York conundrum. So this table has really been with me for many years. Before it, I had like a big drafting table, but this has just been perfect for all my many little rooms. And now it's sort of like my art sort of grew in a way that it works with this table. At first it felt cramped, but now it feels like plenty of space. And I have a little window, my view of my birds. And if you can see behind me, it's really just my apartment. It's just 2 rooms. So
it's great.
It's great. But it feels spacious for some reason, even though I've been trapped in here for several months. Who knew? It's just, when you have the imagination, anything's possible.
That's awesome.
And I think I'm going to work with these super fun these kind of watercolor pencils. If anybody is like not creative, but you want something that is going to make you look like you know how to do art, this is a great tool.
I wish I had that.
They're really fun. Yeah, so you draw with them, and then you can just paint over that. Like, you basically paint with water on top of them, and it looks like you made a painting. Pretty handy. So they're a great thing to have. So I think for this, I'm going to use these because they're fun and colorful. And then afterwards, I can put water on it and make it look like a painting.
Beautiful. Well, I have paper, and then a pen, because that's the tools of my trade.
Good. So I love it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Some of the most amazing drawings I've seen are just simple, just paper and pen. So
I'm gonna aim low.
Aim low.
And then
it doesn't matter.
Get right above that.
Exactly. I think that's also a huge thing we both preach. It's just, set the bar very low. I always say, like, one of the reasons why I'm a pretty happy person is my expectations are pretty low. So.
Well, and also I think this sprint is a real gift to those of us, who don't consider ourselves drawers or painters or things like this, and again, practice what you preach. I'm always preaching people, you don't need to be a creative and artist to actually be creative in the work that you do. So this allows me not to make something perfect. There's no ideal or idea. It's not like there's an apple in front of you, therefore you have to capture it. So I'm allowed to be imaginative. So this is awesome. Thank you.
And just have fun with it. And I just like Katie Dietrichson weighed in, draws crowds. If you're not following her, anybody who's watching, you should follow her. She is such a phenomenal artist, and she's doing more like tutorials and stuff of what she's doing. And she is like a master, blind contour drawer.
Yeah, sure.
She goes to events to draw blind contour, concerts, weddings, things like that. So she puts a lot of her drawings up, which are really cool. And again, because she's somebody who can absolutely draw something that looks very realistic if she wants. She paints like very realistic flowers, but then something that she loves to do is this very wild, very imaginative style of drawing. So she goes, yeah.
Okay,
cool.
What's the prompt one more time, just in case people are joining us?
The prompt, thank you. The prompt one more time is to draw someone. Okay. You could draw yourself in the mirror if you haven't connected with yourself in that way in a while. You could draw myself or Tanya because you're looking at us. Or you could call someone else up and draw them. The idea is to have a sort of draw somebody else's face in one line. The goal, you don't have to, but the goal is to kind of keep your pencil moving around the page and just following all the little lines and crevices and drawing as best as you can, and just have fun with it.
Okay.
So now this is the trick. God, we both have such awesome hair. I've got to be honest.
Oh yeah, this is so great. Okay,
I'm like, oh, your hair, good.
Okay, I'll sit still.
Rock and roll hair. So when did you first decide that you knew you were going to be someone who had rock and roll hair?
When I came out of the womb. Next question. My mom did say that I looked like a porcupine, which to me suggests hair that went like that.
Oh, from birth. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's how I roll out of
like rock and roll from birth. Awesome. So yeah, so you are a creative trespasser. What does that mean?
It's so great to have a conversation while drawing.
It's hard.
It means that I teach and preach and do the art of bringing in more creativity to less overtly creative spaces, practices, and jobs. So, when I found myself in really traditional or rigid settings, I evoke imagination to make it more fun and actually impact the bottom line. Bam, creative trespassing.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a little bit how we met. I think you contacted me maybe and were like, I think we might do the same thing. And I was like, I think we do. How cool is that?
Yeah,
Very rare.
I found out about you when I read a really kick-ass article about another limited rebellion in a really cool publication. And I'm like, who are these people? How do I access them? And then I did a very creative trespasserly thing. I just Googled your email and then I sent you an email. I didn't wait around for you to notice me, and I didn't apply for anything. I just sent you an email, and a respectful one, and said I adored you. And then I happened to be in New York, and then we met and had coffee in real life, and found out that my twin brother is no longer my twin brother, and your brother is no longer but in fact we are
actually twins. Turns out there's actually 4 of us apparently.
It was a hard birth, but
it's really weird. I was realizing today too that you haven't even met Noah, which surprised me.
I still haven't. No.
What a hoot. So when you mentioned that you've been in some situations that were not very conducive to creativity, and what have some of those spaces been, and how did you realize that being a creative trespasser was your profession and your vocation and your passion and your vacation?
Yeah, I think the first idea of it started when I worked at a museum, which I thought I was actually hired because I was quote unquote like an outside the box kind of thinker, and they needed somebody who was like racy to invite new audience members into this museum. And on my first day on the job, they showed me to my office, and it was a cubicle. And I thought, this is either a cruel joke or ironic or weird or whatever. And what I realized was that I could turn the worst space in the entire arts organization into the coolest space. And I started my own video production company as my job. And,
oh, wow. Inside of that.
Yeah. So I created an online series called Out of the Cubicle. And what we did is we showed people who thought that that museums were like austere and super fancy and richy rich, that they weren't, that they were just kind of like regular, mundane, extraordinary and ordinary spaces, just like any other workspace. And so people started coming into the museum through these videos, and then they came in real life to see what was going on. So that was the first.
That is so amazing. I don't know if I knew that. And I love simply that, like, that audience engagement, that term, which I don't know what even was a term or then, or what was it called? What was your job title when you got hired to do that?
My job title was, it was so lame that I had to reinvent it. It was like project coordinator.
Right. So like people like us were kind of getting hired for people knew that they needed someone out of the box, someone weird, to do something in the space of like they knew it had to do something with like engaging people. They knew it had something to do with like reaching out, and they knew they needed a weird person to do that inside, but they didn't know what it was called or like what it looked like. And you had to like, it's very similar to my experience too. Like then it was your job to then define what that looked like. And thankfully you had people who were willing to let you do that in that organization. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, my boss was definitely the one that said, do your thing, because a lot of the board members and concerned citizens were definitely
what are you doing?
Yeah, they were expressing their discomfort because what they actually said things were like, she's not doing her job, she's not working, she's just running around having fun. And so what I challenged was this notion that like fun and work were mutually exclusive, when in fact, if you have more fun or more engaged in your work, then you create more engaging work. And then what I did impacted the bottom line. So at the end of the day, the board and all of that had to be fine because I increased numbers and revenue. You picked all the traditional.
Yeah, but I love that idea too, that like, certainly I love what you do, that the sense of fun comes through in everything you do, like the photos of you, the like, the language in the book, the way you present. And I love that it's just sort of so part of your identity and truth, that, because I feel the same way, that like, why, coming from the arts world as well, feeling like, why does art have to be serious or unfun to be good? Like good art can also be fun, and also good work can be fun. A good experience can be good work too, and you can get things done. I think that's I love that you've made that so integral to really everything that you do.
Yeah.
And I think it's not independent of making money or affecting the bottom line.
Yeah, I also think that that was like a misnomer brought to us by education and systems and hierarchy, which is that you have to struggle because you're an artist and what you do isn't really valuable. But you know, actually, I'm getting more as a public speaker in companies. I'm getting more companies like fintech, all the like places you think are rich, and they are reaching out because they're desperate for their teams to feel more alive, creative, and engaged at this time.
Yeah.
Especially those who are privileged enough to have jobs and are working remotely. Yeah.
Yeah. So how have you had to be creative recently in terms of recent changes in your work and work in general?
Totally.
Life and everything, universe and everything.
Yeah, well, I really have had to do sort of a major like pivot. I mean, I was getting a lot of live speaking engagements because people understood the framework of creating a live event, charging money, and then hiring speakers. And all of them sort of canceled. And then I started creating online courses. I created my first one, but I decided to do all live. Like I didn't make it so that you could just download it and blah, 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 because I wanted to experiment and play like we're doing now and get a sense of what people really need at this time. So I'll be creating more online opportunities for people to use creativity.
Oh, you did your first online class and it was live? Yeah. Fun. You had a good time?
An awesome time. We had 33 excited people from all industries sign up and play, and we wrote manifestos and we did all kinds of cool stuff. So it was great. And I got to learn what how people work, what they need, and all that kind of stuff, which is great. Beta test, baby.
Great. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, we definitely want to hear more about that. We'll have to have a powwow on that because we're doing similar learning, trying to understand what value you can provide or what form, not that you, obviously the value of being creative is always, if anything, I feel like more so. Do you feel like your clients need it more right now?
Oh, totally. It's like it's like the last thing on their list during the regular, like before COVID.
Yeah,
it was like, yeah. And now it's like, because people don't understand what, I mean, traditionally, like, we're experts in creativity. So we've done a lot of research. So there are studies that like, it's not about painting or drawing. It's about accessing, it's about divergent thinking, really. It's knowing that there's not one solution and then practicing coming up with lots of solutions so that when you're stuck in a mindset or a cubicle or a pandemic, you have solutions for getting out.
Yep, bingo. Yep. You have lots of solutions. They exist. That's awesome. I love it. See, exactly. I don't need to open my mouth when I hang out with you because you just say anything that I'd be thinking. It's so freaking awesome. So good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I feel similarly. I feel like the awareness that is if anything, like people have been more forthcoming or more understanding of the need. I don't feel like we actually are working to change some of our presentational language, like our positioning. Interestingly enough, because a lot of our positioning, as I'm sure yourself, this is getting really nerdy, but like your sort of language that you would use to explain to people what you do kind of also had to include the value, like why this will be valuable to your bottom line. But we're realizing like a lot of that language actually feels dated because they already get it now. There's like, okay, we understand. Like you don't have to waste time. You know what I mean? You still need to explain the value, but I do think that you don't need to waste as much time as you did like 3 months ago explaining value.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And for you, you know, I mean, a virtual speaking or live streaming or all of those modalities, we've been, I mean, I assume you guys have been doing them anyway. And so it's also about people realizing in this moment, oh, we can do that. And it's even easier and we save money and we carbon footprint and all that kind of stuff. It's not the same for sure, but
it has a different value. It has a value that is different and also meaningful in this moment. It's also interesting to occur to me, your beginning was also in digital media too. Like your approach was to use digital media. Totally. That's also very much, you know, both Noah and I have this strong. So I think it also speaks to maybe why we also had an approach that was interesting to people because it was already a lot of the reason why the organizations, it sounds like the kind of organizations we both work with are kind of similar in that its digital transformation was the challenge for a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And now it's like everyone's in that, whether you want to or not.
That's right.
I know. And I hear, on the other hand, I also think about like our artist colleagues for whom some of them have jumped aboard and they're like us, they're fans of technology and have fun with this kind of stuff. Others they just don't feel connected or don't really relate to this as part of their creative practice, or they haven't developed like, and I understand that and I really feel for that. So I've been thinking a little bit about that too, about how there's certain artists for whom this is organic to the practice that you and Noah and I have all developed.
Yes.
But many artists are feeling very alien in this space as part of their creative space.
Yeah, and to that point, it's funny, Micah, because I saw this young woman who's a visual artist post this super vulnerable video where she's like, my art like is going to be over because I show in these typical spaces, and so I'm making this video because I'm going to try this out. And I was just like, I don't know her. I wrote her like an email saying it's okay. But also what I think this digital space provides for a lot of people who are introverts by nature, and who is a space that isn't in front of 1,000 people. So it's actually a space that you can really occupy that's intimate in a way. And, you know, actually one of the courses I'm working on right now is about speaking for the camera and in a powerful way, in a way that is more intimate.
That's interesting too. It's like, it shows also like, this is a very interesting time for like different kinds of specific skill sets of people. Like I was realizing, Noah and I too, realizing one of the things we actually need to do is also like, oh, there's specific things that we know how to do right now that we really should be also like providing our clients, or like different than the general topics. But and like you mentioned the introvert thing. That's what I was going to. Super interesting. Exactly. Many people, especially like if you're a visual artist or whatever it is, that you use your art medium, you know, that's your expression. It's not like you're not, and even writers too. Some writers, like their format is like, well, no, I sit and I write for days and days and then I publish it. I meet with my editor. You know, they have a different kind of a process. That's sort of like blogging or daily posting. It's just not their process. And that's okay. Like, I don't want to be that sort of enthusiast that's like, you got to get in there and you got to do it this way. Cause I don't relate to that either. It's like, you got to do it the way that's, especially as a creative, it's very important that you do it in a way that's authentic to you.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
So if you're getting in there in some way, you feel pressured, you got to get in there. And I'm not the kind of dancer that wants to feels comfortable showing people my bedroom where I'm doing dances. That's weird for me. Then don't do that. Like, that is not for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's,
yeah.
But it also makes people feel kind of like lost if that's the only thing. So I think it's just really challenging for artists that don't relate. But I like the point of like, if you're an introvert though, think about it as a way to like, or introvert, that's not your communication style. There's a lot of ways though to use mediated spaces to your advantage.
Well, you're reminding me of one of my favorite books of all times, which probably is your favorite book because we're so similar, but Linda Berry's book, Syllabus. So, you know, for everybody who's watching right now, it's like she was asked to be like the head of this department, or even teach a class. I don't remember what the charge was, to be a university teacher. And she's like, I don't know anything about that. I'm a cartoonist, so booyah. And they're like, no, we really want you. And she's like, fine. And then they're like, you have to make a syllabus. And she's like, I don't do that. And so she made an entire syllabus as a comic book, and she did it with doodles and scribbles and crossed out marks and all that. And so the point is that if you have a camera in front of you, it doesn't have to be on your face. Make it be on your work, and then do a voiceover, right? So there are definitely, and show your work, show what's primary.
Right. Yes. Exactly. I think that's the big thing. Like, it's such a cult of personality thing. You should feel like they have to put their face on the camera. I mean, certainly, like, for me, this isn't like it's not my favorite thing to do, but what I do love is talking to people. Like, I love one-to-one conversations. It's my sweet spot. And I realized if I could share one-to-one conversations that I have in a public way, that's a great thing to be able to put out there in a way that's still very organic and authentic to me. Like, I'm not the like performer that you are, you know, and you and Noah both have that, like, you actually love to be on stage in front of people, like doing your like magic hands and stuff. And like, it's not my jam, but I am comfortable speaking. So it's sort of it's an example of that, finding a way where you're doing the thing that you naturally do. Yeah, making your work the primary thing. I love that idea. Oh yeah, and people who film, I mean, who doesn't love watching somebody just like the camera? Oh my God, obsessed, right?
Totally. Yeah.
I can go in a rabbit hole just watching people like, or like, the people printmakers where they're rolling out they're just showing, you know, close up watching rolling out the paint, and then that's like,
well, and also, you know, the cult of personality, it can also, if somebody's intention is to be about the thing they're teaching, like I signed up for all these meditations on Tricycle magazine. And Jack Kornfield, who's one of my favorite dudes, he led a meditation, and yes, the camera was on his face, but did I focus on his face? No, because he asked me to close my eyes, and he engaged me in a meditation. And so it was really beautiful. But to know that I could connect with somebody I'd never have access to, even just seeing his face for one moment, made me feel deeply connected. So Yeah.
Yeah, that value. Yeah,
I shouldn't have looked down. I looked down. I feel like I'm like walking on a really high glass platform, and
Oh,
I look
I've been
down.
looking down. I totally just gave up on it. 'Cause
Yeah, I followed the rule. At the one time, I wrote a whole book on not following the rules, and I followed the rules, and you broke them.
well, I just couldn't help it.
I'm
But you know
done.
what it is? You know what it is? I don't have a down. Like, I actually don't have my paper and the thing are on the same level. Do you know what I mean? Like, the paper and the camera are sitting on the same table, so I actually didn't set it up properly. Like, if I had the camera higher, so there's
Okay.
no way I.
So what I'm hearing is an excuse for your creativity. Is that what?
Sorry, I just kind of, you know. But similarly, I guess,
Okay. I'm
I
not
went with
looking.
it, just like you said. I just went with it.
Okay.
But I was staring in your eyes because I was like really circling the eyes a lot. I just noticed like going around. Anyway, hi Cara. Nice to see you on here. So yeah, do you want to share? Do you feel like you want to share? How do you feel?
Share. Sure, I'll share. Yeah.
You ready to share?
Yeah. Oh my God, it's fantastic. Yes, I will share. The best thing about these drawings, I've done the blind contour drawings before, is that you can't help but capture energy. Like, it's not about literally documenting or creating the person in front of you. To me, it feels like about capturing energy. And I think I succeeded.
Yeah, that's such a great like angle.
Yeah.
See, mine is like definitely. I don't think I've actually ever made a drawing like this before, so that's where it's different for me. I just have like, I went over a bunch. I went over it and over it and over it. Okay. Ta-da!
Oh my God.
It is really smooth. Oh, wow. Oh my God, I love it.
Oh my.
Obsessed.
I love it. Wait,
wait,
how do
that
we
is
take
me
can we take-
1,000%. It's
take a
all
picture of
hair
this?
and squiggles.
How do we take a picture of ours both up on the screen?
Oh God, screenshot. Okay, I don't know. There's too many technologies.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to hold it. I'm gonna hold it like this.
Uh-oh, hang on. Oh man, I wonder if somebody else can do it.
I got it.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
It's got my face in it.
I don't know if I. Oh.
For some reason, I don't know. You look like, I don't know what you look like. But if I hold it really far back.
Somebody take a picture, please. Okay.
You know what? I can do a screenshot from the video itself when I replay it. I'll do a screenshot from the video.
Okay.
As long as we do a bunch where we're like, whoa.
Oh.
Obsessed. Yeah, I've never made a drawing that looked in this way, and there you go.
I make these all the time. No. I'm kidding. Oh my God, I love it. What a gifty gift. And it looks like it looks like other people maybe wanted to share. Is it anybody else make drawings? I want to share. I can't wait to share. Is that
So Katie will share hers and we'll tag it and we'll reshare it. Just tag us, Katie, and we'll share it on all the different accounts.
Oh my God,
right?
this is so great. I love it. I love my Mica original.
Oh my God, I love it. Wow. So I'm gonna send this to you. I think I'm gonna mail this to you.
Fine, right back at
you.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, why not?
Give you my address right now.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Katie made 5 in the time when we made 1, you and I.
But she's
a professional.
She's flexing her muscles every day. And this is what people don't realize, that if you flex your creative muscle, there's a day you show up and your brain won't get in the way and your body will know what to do and you'll just create awesome stuff.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. When you get in that, you're like, yeah, that's just how I roll. And I feel like, again, Noah and I talk about this all the time too. It's like, even as someone who is like, I identify creative, I work every day as a creative, like I know I'm creative. I still need this. I still need to hear this. I still need to tell myself this. I still need to practice this.
Totally.
Easy to get hung up on things. Easy to get caught up and hung up. And
actually, I'm reminded of a little creative sprint. I give this to you and whomever is watching as a gift, because of your small but functional artist space. Your typewriter table you know how we always talk about, like in business, scaling, like scaling, everything needs to be bigger and more and bigger and bigger.
But how does it scale? When I first started talking to them about this business, what I was doing, that was like the question I got from them. I'd be like, what are you even talking? Are you listening to me?
So there's an exercise actually in the book that an artist named Meg DoGood, she wanted to open an art gallery, and she lived in Chicago and she didn't have money or resources or a space, and she just wanted 4 walls. So instead of trying to get more money and get bigger, she got smaller and she scaled down and she created something called Clutch Gallery, and it's a gallery in her purse. and there's 4 walls in there, and she curates shows. It's fantastic. So what an exercise a sprint could be like, to take your big dream that involves like lots of money and getting bigger, and make it a 1/2-inch scale. Like,
I love it.
make
And
that
that's
innovation lab in your purse.
literally, and it's like, literally, we're just, all we're doing is echoing each other. Like, Noah and I always say, dream small. That's our statements. What is the smallest thing? Stop thinking about what's the biggest thing you can do. What's the smallest thing you can do?
I love that.
So it's, yeah, we're always cycling through these same, but I think it does speak to that, like, we've spent time trying to really think about how our creativity works and articulate it and make sure that it keeps working for us, because we're professional creative. Like, that is how we make our living. So I think there's also that level of urgency too, of being like, I think you, like Noah and I, yes, of course you like writing, and you create theater pieces as well. We didn't even talk about all this cool stuff you do. But I think it's just the point is to make a living as a creative. So we don't really care how we make a living as a creative, as long as we're being creative.
That's great.
I think that is sort of a little bit of being willing to let that go too. I also know that's hard. You're like, I just want to make a living doing this one creative thing. Fair enough, but it will change. It does change how you do things. I think we're definitely like, we'll do anything that's creative. Like, that's it. Like, I don't care. Like, speaking, whatever. Like, you don't decide you want to be. I'm sorry. I don't think people decide they want to be a public speaker. That's something that like happens. I feel like
it does happen, right?
Right?
I didn't even know that was like, that's so funny. I didn't even know that was like a profession until like one day somebody's like, so you're a public speaker? I'm like, what does that pay? Yes, I'm a public speaker.
And you're again, before we go, your background was in theater. Tell me a little bit about how you started. And are you writing any other performative works or?
I have a degree in theater, and I focused on playwriting. Because I thought I was a great performer, but whenever I auditioned for things in high school and then in college, I wasn't cast as the ingenue, which was shocking to me. Shocking. No, but I mean, seriously, because I wasn't.
You can be an ingenue in your own life.
I am. I'm an ingenue. But because I didn't fall into any traditional or typical mold, then I found that the only power I had to perform was to create my own roles. And so that's when I started writing, like one-person shows. And then I wrote plays, like straight up people, because, I have voices talking to me, myself and others. And so I focused them into playwriting. I loved playwriting.
You studied that.
Yeah. So now, though, in terms of performative work, somebody asked me recently, like, do you use theater? I'm like, I use theater all the time. So everything that I write, I'm writing with an audience in mind. Even my marketing materials, or like I have a weekly newsletter that's free, and I literally write it to, I'm thinking about a person on my email list, and I'm writing to them. So writing helps me connect.
That is a great piece of advice. And I think something that helps me a lot, and this creative connecting challenge to one of the things I really liked about this particular creative sprint approach, to make it relate to an individual. So even if you're making, like you said, even if it's ultimately for the email list, or even if it's ultimately for you or not for a group or for something, thinking about a specific person when you create is so cool. It's a great strategy. I love that.
Yeah.
One that I have to remind myself of, because you can get really lost and you're just talking to some vague audience.
Well, and that, from my marketing brain, people get really like, oh, I don't know what kind of information to deliver to my audience. It's because you're not thinking about one person in that audience and really connecting to him or her or they in a way that honors and sees and celebrates that person. And then the material becomes really clear as to what you're offering them. That makes it easy and clear. And I think we forget that because we're all, this cult of personality and being online and we feel like we always need to cast this like crazy wide net.
Yeah.
And we're capturing no audience.
Yeah.
And so I rather have 1,000 people sort of like following or on my email list than 20,000 who don't really care, and who aren't really receiving or responding to what I'm offering. So.
That's really wise words already. I love it. Everything you say, it's just like, write it all down.
What?
The next book. I'm just gonna transcribe what you say, and I'll be like, hey, this is Tania's next book.
Stop. But
by Mica.
Listen, we're gonna have a totally like phone downscaling meeting at a later. but same
Yeah,
date.
well, I hope that let's continue our conversation offline, off public line.
Yeah.
But this has been super fun. I hope other people who joined and watched had a good time. And if you made anything with us, drawings of us or of each other or of yourself, we want to see them. That's cool. And yeah, that's it. Thanks so much. This was fun. It just made my
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing and thanks for writing your awesome book. And mwah, yeah, love you.
Germ
Bye.
free, baby. Okay.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.